Good afternoon, everybody. Who in this room has ever consumed meat? I would say that most of us have. What if I told you that most of the meat we consume has been treated with antibiotics? So you may ask why you should care. So today I'll be giving a presentation on why you should care that the meat we consume has been treated with antibiotics. Not only am I a consumer of meat, but I've actually done research in antibiotic resistance in my undergrad years. Today I'll be going over what is antibiotic resistance, why is it being overused in livestock, and what does it mean, and how can we reduce that usage of antibiotics in meat. The first thing I'm going to talk to you about, what is antibiotic resistance. So antibiotic resistance is when a parasite, bacteria or virus, develops a resistance to a specific antibiotic, which means it cannot be killed by that antibiotic. For example, if you guys been to the doctor and he tells you have an infection and he prescribes to you antibiotics and tells you to take the whole regimen until there's no more pills. He does that because, let's say you stop halfway from taking those pills, that antibiotic, or what's left, that bacteria or superbug that's left that has not been killed with the antibiotic, may develop that resistance to that antibiotic, creating an antibiotic resistant superbug that cannot be treated with the antibiotic, which means it can lead to many diseases, even death, if you do that. Second, I want to show you a video from a study that was created in Harvard Medical School showing how antibiotic resistance develops throughout time. So here in the video they have a petri dish with bacteria. So they start off with no antibiotic here, and they'll show 0 here, and then progressively they're starting more and more antibiotic, and then they're gonna see, so they added more here, and then they do 10 times more here, and then 100 more times antibiotic here, and then 1,000. So they're gonna add bacteria here, which you're gonna start showing. It's gonna start growing, and it's gonna start developing antibiotic resistance. So as you can see here, you can see the bacteria growing, and then after a while, you'll see the spots right here, which are bacteria has developed antibiotic resistance to that particular antibiotic, and then you can just see that it will increase into the more antibiotic, more that has more antibiotic portions of it, and then you'll see here that's growing. You see here little things are creating, and this is the most antibiotics. So as you can see is that even if it has antibiotic, this bacteria will find a way to increase and grow in that kind of environment, which is bad. Okay. So second point I want to discuss is this antibiotic use in livestock. As you can see in this figure, according to the study by the CDC, 70% of all the antibiotics we create in this world is consumed by animals, and only 30% is used by humans. So we use antibiotics in livestock because we try to increase the yield of meat that we can produce. So we lose a lot of livestock in like where it's growing in diseases and stuff like that. So we pump a lot of these antibiotics into livestock to increase the yield of meat that we can get. So the more animals we have that don't die, the more meat we have. But overall, it's a bad thing, because what you're creating is this resistance to diseases in animals that have been pumped with antibiotics. So throughout the years, we've been seeing more development of antibiotic resistance bugs in animals. And then these things can be transmitted to us. How these things are transmitted to us is simple. As we can see here in the chart, so we use antimicrobial usage in the animals. So when the animal is slaughtered, what could happen is that these superbugs in the stomach can infect this meat that's been cut, and then we consume it. So these superbugs can come into us and can lead to diseases that are, again, antibiotic resistance. But not only this is caused by this, it could be that the food animals can be eaten by the wildlife, and then it goes into the soil because they with the manure of the soil, and then it goes into the water, or it can be to the pets. So it's just a cycle of just an infection. And there's been a study by the CDC that shows that about 2 million people every year are infected with a antibiotic resistance bug. And out of those 2 million people, 24,000 people die. And that number is only increasing because of this. And it's just an alarming number. And it's just going to increase. So we got to find a way to stop this. And this is me to my third point is how can we decrease this amount of antibiotic resistance? So one of these is just implementing a stricter regulation of how we maintain and grow livestock, which is by cleaning, keeping everything sanitary. Just by washing where the animals are with soap will decrease by 30% this antibiotic resistant stuff, or superbugs that we call them. In the scientific journal, stricter reducing antimicrobial use in food animals, they say that if we somehow increase the price of antibiotics that we use in veterinary by 50%, we can see a reduction of 30% of these disinfections in animals. But also, let's say we reduce consumption of meat ourselves by 165 grams, they think that would decrease 31%. But the most important thing that we can do is by putting a cap in vets and the usage of antibiotics in livestock, we can see up to an 80% decrease by 2030. So I think the main point that they're trying to figure out is that if we have a control with antibiotics, we can decrease all these infections and all these antibiotic resistant superbugs, but just simply maybe not using the animal, not trying to save it, kill it, instead of using antibiotics to cure it. And that way you have less chance of these animals creating them and affecting us. So again, I just wanna say that this is a crisis that not a lot of people know about, and that it should be paying attention. So today I talked to you guys about what is antibiotic resistance, why is it being overused in livestock, and what can we do to reduce this. And this is a very important crisis that a lot of people know about. It is something that affects us every day, that we consume, and it affects us directly. So I think it's very important for us to try to figure out ways to control this, or have or maintain a safe amount of level of these superbugs that we're creating in livestock, which could maybe end up killing us at the end of the day, because there's some superbugs that no antibiotic known to man can actually cure. So I think we gotta stop that before we get to that point. Hopefully you guys learned something about this topic through my presentation, and thank you for listening.